Students, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As you are familiar with the fact that I am providing you live classes every time. Now today I am again with another important live class for you people, and I hope you are feeling fantastic at your home, and at the same time you might have kept the past throughout this holy month, throughout this special month, and you must have given the alms and alms to the needy people and the poor people. So my dear students, you are also acquainted with the fact that we have already lost 2 months, and we do not want to repeat to last any more month here on. Therefore you are also acquainted with the fact that some days before we have discussed about the chemistry, that was introductory class for both 9th as well as 10th. But today my special topic is for 10th class, that is about acids, bases and salts. My dear student, these three terms are very much related with each other. So I will try to my level best today to teach you in a better way in order to make you more understanding in this chapter. So let us start today's topic. My topic is acids, bases and salts. We will start the basics from the acids, bases and salts. The term is acids. You write down this acids. Now my dear students, if you try to know in a detail what is acid, so we should try today know about acid in detail. Acid, the word acid is derived from Latin word that is acidus, which means sour. You write down this. The word acid is derived from a Latin word acidus, which means sour. Clear? My dear students, you note down this. The word acid is derived from Latin word acidus, which means sour. Now there was a famous chemist. His name was Arene. You note down this scientist's name, Arene. In the year 1804, he was the first scientist in the history who first put forward the definition about acids. According to the Arene's definition, he defined the acids as acids are those substances which contains hydrogen, and when these acids are dissolved in water, they give hydrogen ions in aqueous solutions. Clear? You write down this definition first. Acids are those substances which contains hydrogen, and when they are dissolved in an aqueous solution, or solutions like water, they liberate or give up or dissociate hydrogen ions. Clear? My dear students, this was the definition which was given by Arene. That is why this definition is called Arene's definition. But there are so many other definitions about acids. But today I will tell you one more important definition, and we will frame their definition from the starting word. You write down that definition. The word acid is derived from Latin word acidus, which means sour. Clear? Now, as far acids are concerned, they are sour in taste. You write down this. They are sour in taste. They turn blue litmus to red. And one more point. Acids corrode metals usually. Also, acids dissociates. Or ionizes in the aqueous solution to give or to produce or to liberate hydrogen ions. This is another important definition of acids. You write down that definition. Acids are sour in taste. This is first point about acids. Second, acids acids turn blue litmus to red. Then third point is acids produce hydrogen ions in an aqueous solutions. Aqueous solution. Then last one is acids corrodes metals, etc. This is another best definition of acids. Clear, my dear student? Now I will rub the board in order to make more space for writing. Now we will try to know the examples of acids. There are so many examples of acids which are around us, which are present in our daily life, which are mentioned in the books. So my dear student, you write down examples of acids are. Number first example is there is a sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid. You know that its formula H2SO4. Clear? Then we have hydrochloric acid. Formula is HCl. Then we have citric acid. This citric acid we get from lemon or orange. Then we have acetic acid. We get acetic acid usually from vinegar. You note down these things on your note copies. Then we have formic acid. We get formic acid from ants. Then we have one more nitric acid. Nitric acid. Then its formula is NH3. HN3. Then we have nitric acid is there. There is malic acid. We get these from apples. Malic acids. Then we have one more. There is a lactic acid. We get this lactic acid from curd. I have told you initially that this topic is very, very interesting but very, very lengthy. So I am trying my best to give in detail in order to make you more clarification in this chapter. We have so many, so I may write here simply etc. There are so many examples which we may give you in order to understand the acids. So this is a little bit about acids. Now we will try to more about acids. We will try to know more about acids, their classification on the basis of strength, their classification on the basis of their source, their classification on the basis of their groups. Before we go there, you remember two important points for the general from the general knowledge point of view. That is concentrated acids. Then we have diluted acids or dilute acid we can say. What are concentrated acids? You write down. Concentrated acids are those acids which contains more acids, which contains more quantity of acid as compared to water. This dilute acid is opposite of this. In this dilute acid, there is a concentration of water in more in quantity, whereas acid is in less quantity. In other words, we can say that concentrated acids are those acids which contains large amount of acid but less amount of water. This contains large amount of water but less amount of this acid. Clear? These are the two important points. Now classification of acids. Classification of acids on the basis of their strength. Clear? When we talk about classification of acids but on the basis of strength, then there are two types of acids. The first is strong acids, and second is weak acids. You write down these two also. When we talk about, I am repeating you these things. When we talk about acids, but on the basis of classification, but what type of classification? On the basis of their strength, then acids are two types. One is strong acid, another is weak acid. Now let us try to know about what are strong acids. If we are able to understand strong acid, then automatically we can know about weak acids. Now you write down, my dear student, strong acids are those acids which completely dissociates in an aqueous solution to produce hydrogen ions. Clear? You write down this. Strong acids are those acids which dissociates. You check the spelling by yourself. Strong acids are those acids which dissociates or ionizes completely in an aqueous solutions to produce hydrogen ions. Clear? What are strong acids? Strong acids are those acids which get dissolved completely in the aqueous solution like water. So they are known as strong acids. There are many examples of strong acids. The first strong acid is sulfuric acid. Then we have, there is a nitric acid. Clear? These are two best examples of sulfuric acid. But my dear students, I will give you one more point here about, I want to add here one more point about sulfuric acid. This sulfuric acid is also called king of acids. Sulfuric acid is also called king of acids. Now you may ask me a question, why? Because sulfuric acid is called king of acids because it is most reactive acid and other many acids dissolves in this acid. That is why it's called king of acids. Now these are only two examples for understanding the strong acids. Now if we talk about weak acid, it is opposite of this. In this acid, there is a dissociation completely and there is a liberation or give up of hydrogen ions. Now if we talk about weak acid, they are the reverse of strong acids. Now let me give the definition of weak acids. You write down that weak acids are those acids which get dissociated in aqueous solution but partially. Clear? They are known as a weak acids. Clear? You write down this definition also. Weak acids are those acids which dissociates partially or incompletely in an aqueous solution to produce hydrogen ions. Clear? Now there are so many examples of weak acids. Let me give you examples of weak acids. You write down first, weak acid is acetic acid. Acetic acid, which we get from vinegar. It's a weak acid. Now second, then we have lactic acid. It is also a weak acid. We usually get it from the curd. Then we have oxalic acid. We get oxalic acid from tomato juice or tomato sauce or simply tomatoes. It is also a weak acid. Then we have one more important, that is a formic acid. We get these from ants. It is also weak acid. Then we have citric acid. It is also a weak acid. we get it from lemon or orange, etc. These are some weak acids and strong acids. Now we will discuss about further about classification of acids, but on the basis of their origin or source. On the basis of their source or origin. Clear? You note down new point about acids. Now my new topic is now classification of acids. Classification of acids on the basis of their source or origin. When we talk about classification of acids, but not on the basis of strength, but on the basis of their source or origin, then again acids are two types. Now first is organic acids, and then second is inorganic acids. Clear? When we talk about classification of acids, but on the basis of source or origin, then there are two types of acids, organic acids and inorganic acids. Now we will talk about this, then this. Clear, my dear student? Now listen, what are organic acids? Listen, my dear students, organic acids are those acids which we get from organic materials or living things like plants and animals are called organic acids. You write down its definition. Organic acids are those acids which we obtain from living things such as plants and animals. These acids are called organic acids. The best example is hydrochloric acids. Formula is HCl. This acid we get from the gastric juice of stomach of a human being, and it is pH value in stomach is around 1.5 to 3.5. Clear? Now you may be confused here. What is pH value? What is pH value? It is important topic also, but let me throw a little bit light on it. pH value is actually a scale. This pH scale helps us to determine whether the given substance is acidic or basic. In other words, pH scale decides or categorizes the substances, how much they are acidic and how much they are basic in an aqueous solution or simply in water. That is called pH scale. And its formula is pH is equal to minus times of log of 10 to C. This C stands here. Hydrogen ions or hydrogen atoms. Clear? This is the formula for finding the pH scale. Now, my dear student, the best example of organic acid is hydrochloric. Clear? Then we have second example is that's a lactic acid. Then we have critic acid. Then we have malic acid. These all acids are organic acids because they are all we get from the living things. Plants, some animals, so they are known as organic acids. Clear? And one more thing, whether there are organic acids or inorganic acids, both are dangerous for living beings. So whenever we deal with organic acids or inorganic acids or simply acids, we should deal with keen attention. We should deal with a very much attention with them. We should be very careful on dealing with the organic acids and inorganic acids. Now we will talk about inorganic acids. What are inorganic acids? Inorganic acids are opposite of organic acids. Inorganic acids, you write down this. Inorganic acids are those acids which we usually obtain from the non-living things like rocks, minerals, earth, and sometimes we prepare these inorganic acids in the laboratory also. Clear? And these are very much dangerous as compared to organic acids. Now, example of inorganic acids are sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid is there. Then we have nitric acid. Clear? We have so many, but these are two important examples of inorganic acids. Clear? The list is endless of inorganic acids, and the examples of inorganic acids are endless. So these are the two to understand the inorganic acids. So my dear students, if we go in further, there are these organic acids are further of two types when we talk about the groups. In other words, we can say like this: when we talk about organic acids, but on the basis of groups, they are further of two types. The first is carbolic acid, the second is sulfonic acid group. For carbolic acid group, the formula is COH, and for sulfonic there is SO2OH. SO2OH, and this is for sulfonic acid group. That is very much not important, but these are important things. Now this is all for acids. Now the second term is bases. My dear students, now what is my second term? My second term is bases. Let me tell you that acids, bases, salts, these are all compounds. Now we have discussed in detail about acids. Now we will try to throw a light on the bases. My dear students, as you read before, acids are sour in taste. As far the bases are concerned, they are bitter in taste. You write down this: bases are bitter in taste. Clear? And this is the first point about bases. What are bases? Bases are those substances which are bitter in taste. Then we can add one more thing here. They turn red litmus to blue. As far as acids are concerned, they turn blue litmus to red, but here the case is reversed. They turn red litmus to blue. Then third one is when acids were dissolved in water, they give hydrogen ions. As far the bases are concerned, when they are dissolved in aqueous solution or a water, they give us hydroxide ions. They give hydroxide ions in an aqueous solution. Symbol is like this. Clear? Now my dear students, try more about this. One more point about the bases. They are slippery in taste. They are soapy, we can say. They are soapy in touch. Clear? This is the simplest way by virtue of which we can understand bases. About bases. What are bases? Bases are bitter in taste. They turn red litmus to blue. They give hydroxide ions in an aqueous solutions. They are soapy in touch. Clear? Now this is the one of the definition. You can write this definition in the examination. And one more point I am going to add here. There is another definition of these bases. Bases are those chemical species which loses electrons. Bases are those chemical species which loses electrons but accepts protons. When they are dissolved in aqueous solutions, they produce hydroxide ions. Clear? This is another definition about bases. And there is one more important definition about bases. Bases are those substances which reacts with acids. Bases are those substances which neutralizes the acids. We can say like this: bases are those substances which neutralizes the acids on reacting with the hydrogen ions. Clear? This is also another way you can define the bases. Now my dear students, the example of bases are so many. Examples of bases. The base is ammonia. Ammonia is base. Symbol is NH3 formula. Clear? Then we have sodium hydroxide. It is a base. Then we have calcium hydroxide. it is a base. Then we have magnesium hydroxide, that is a base. Then we have washing soda, it is also example of base. Then we have baking soda, it is also a base. This baking soda is also called sodium bicarbonate, it is also called sodium bicarbonate. Clear? Then we have, there is a barium hydroxide, that is a base. There are so many examples of bases, like we have studied the bases, examples of acids. Similarly, we can have so many examples of bases also. Clear? Now, my dear students, these bases, if we categorize these bases on the basis of their strength, they are also of two types. Number first, strong bases. Then we have weak bases. Strong bases and weak bases. Now, if we talk about strong bases, simply, strong bases are those bases which completely dissociates in an aqueous solution to produce hydroxide ions. You write down this, I will repeat it for you. Strong bases are those bases which completely dissociates in an aqueous solution in order to produce hydroxide ions in an aqueous solution. And strong, now if we talk about these strong bases, there was a scientist, his name was Erin. There is a base that's called Erin's base. Then we have one more scientist, his name was Lewis. That is called a Lewis base. Then we have another scientist that's called Bronsted Lowry's base. If we talk about Erin's base, they are usually considered as strong bases. In Erin's bases are so many. This sodium hydroxide is strong base. It's an example of Erin's base. Calcium is a strong base. Magnesium is a strong base. There is a rubidium hydroxide, that is a strong base. Barium hydroxide, that is a strong base. Then we have this calcium hydroxide, that is also a strong base. So these are some, but they are also known as Erin's base because Erin has thrown light on these strong bases. Similarly, we have a lithium hydroxide. Symbol is LiOH. It is also a strong base. Lithium hydroxide is there. There is a sodium hydroxide. There is a potassium hydroxide. There is a calcium hydroxide. There is a magnesium hydroxide. There is a strontium hydroxide. There is a rubidium hydroxide. There is a barium hydroxide. These are all examples of strong bases, but they are also known as Erin's base. Now we have another term, that's what are weak bases. You write down. Weak bases are those bases which do not completely dissociate in aqueous solution in order to produce hydroxide ions. In other words, we can define weak bases are those bases which partially dissociates in an aqueous solution to produce hydroxide ion. The weak base is ammonia. Ammonia is a weak base. There is another weak base that is called methylamine. It is also the weak base. Then we have pyridine. It is also a weak base. It is formally C5H5N. Methylamine. This is also weak base. This is weak base, and this is weak base. And this weak base comes in the category of what is called Bronsted-Lowry's base. It is also called, these weak bases are also called Bronsted-Lowry's base. Sorry. Now this was a little bit about bases. Now there are other things in the bases, but that is not in your syllabus. So I think it is enough for today. Inshallah, in next video I will take this term about salts, and further then we have inductors. That's the nature of inductor is there, synthetic inductor is, olfactory inductor is there. We will discuss that also in detail. So it is enough for today. But before we conclude, once again I am requesting you that you will watch this video, and after watching you will share it and you will prepare yourself and you will make the notes. Thank you. Have a nice day.